Tailgate talk back for you guys that have been asking for it finally, and with somebody that really needs no introduction, an all-around badass on a dirt bike. And I don't like it when people say badass for a girl on a dirt bike. All-around badass on a dirt bike, Vicki Golden.
Oh, thank you, man. It's better late than never, right? It's been a minute.
It has. But the good thing is that we didn't want to do it during the 110-degree heat.
Yep.
And it's now overcast, so it's even better, and it's kind of cold. And now I'm regretting not putting on my sweatshirt.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I put it on right before we started. I'm like, it's starting to get that cold California winter, so we're getting into the good stuff.
Oh yeah. So what's going on? What's new? What's cooking right now? Man, that's lame that I said what's cooking, but I don't care. I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah, it's been a little mellow for me. I ended up getting hurt in September. I had to get a surgery on my wrist to repair some ligaments. So we just kind of just been cruising since then. I got another surgery like about a month ago now. So we're actually in the clear to start some therapy and start moving everything again. So hopefully I can be on the bike sooner than later because I'm getting bored.
Yeah. When you get back, you'll just start motoing and like doing that stuff and like and then hit ramps once it's like time.
Yeah, for sure. The doctors gave me like full free rein. They're like, all right, you're good to go. Everything's where it should be. And now it's just up to you when you feel ready. So obviously we'll start on some trail rides, some turn tracks, see if the hand and the wrist is good for jumping. And then we'll get into the nitty gritty trying to do tricks and stuff like that.
Yeah. What wrist is it?
Left.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say.
But it's the one I use all my grab tricks for. So
that's actually a good point.
That one needs to be quick and strong. So we were a little ways out still, but it's in the sights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that the recovery is what you want it to be, like actually when you're getting back on the bike and everything. The thing that I want to know is, and I think a lot of people they want to know, like, when did Vicki get her start? You know, like, when did all this like happen for you as a kid? Like, what got you into moto? Like, what is it about moto that like you were drawn to, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I can't take full credit. It was definitely my dad. He just had the passion since I can't even remember, just from day one. So he always had a bike, and I just kept bugging him, and I finally got one for Christmas. I think in that middle period, he probably had to talk my mom into the dangerous part of it. But yeah, it was just like a family passion thing that it started out as. We lived super close to Verona Oaks, so we'd go out there as much as we could, ride around the hills of San Diego, and that's what we had. So it was kind of just like a little local passion that we had, and my dad was very race-hearted. So he wanted, as soon as I was able to line up in the first, I think it was like a first-time beginner class, and he lined me up in that. I was like 8.
Oh, so you're young.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so it was early for you.
Oh, yeah, super early. I mean, I guess probably late nowadays, but early for that era, I guess.
Yeah, that's early back then, but today it's like you got to start at 4, 5.
If I would have started then at that age now, you'd be like, oh, no, it's too late.
And then it was all racing for a long time, eventually turned pro.
Yep.
And then went that route. When did you start freestyle?
I kind of started dabbling in it, I think 2010-ish.
Okay.
And I actually rented a room to Matt Byton.
Yeah.
And he was obviously in the peak of his career, still working to do like X Games and stuff like that. So he came down to SoCal to just kind of get away from his cold winter. So he kept poking me and be like, you got to come hit some ramps and hit ramps. And I was like, all right, I'll go one of these days. And I was just full race program. So that was like my day off. I would go with him and go ride ramps at like Feist or Potter's house.
Yep.
And that kind of sparked my start of it. And it was just like every time I would go there, I would have so much fun. And then it was like turn the page, go back to work. And it was just, it kept escalating to that. And then during that time, like, you're so good, why don't you just learn tricks and you'll make so much money and all this stuff. And I told them, like, I will, but I want to race. And there's only one time in your life you can race, and that's now. So I'm going to keep doing this. And then once I'm done racing, I'll go learn some tricks.
So when did you qualify for Supercross?
I think that was like 2015.
Okay, so that was way later than even when you started that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like dabbling in it for, like 5 years until it was, time. And I was even getting a couple shows here and there, and I would just go do whips and knacks and didn't have.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's all I had, but I was having fun, and they were offering to have me come to some shows just for that. And I mean, back then too, it was still astounding just to see a female jump the setup. So anything I did after that was like a bonus to everyone.
Yeah, and then when that kind of looked for you as like an extra source of income, because obviously with racing, unless you're competing at the highest level, you're not really making much money. Did you have to work any other jobs during that time at all?
No, I was actually very lucky too. I mean, it was close for a little bit. Like that transition period wasn't easy for sure. It was, the hardest part was because a lot of shows and promoters want to lowball you, and I knew from the start, as if you start low, you're never going to climb. So I kind of had to, I held out for maybe like a year until I could actually get shows and get paid what I thought I was worth. So I just kind of was just saying no to shows, even though I was broke.
Yeah.
Just trying to wait for that number to pick up. And once it did, then I was like, all right, now we can start going.
Yeah. And what was the feeling like when you first, because there's a couple things that I want to say is, even though I started this with, you're an all-around badass on a dirt bike, regardless of being a girl or not, I'm sure racing at the level that you got to was not easy being a female. And what, was there one that was harder to kind of like break into the world of, or was it kind of similar?
It was pretty similar. I raced just arena cross and supercross, so they're pretty similar as is. I don't know, it's just tough. I think there was a lot of things I struggled with. And me going on about talking about like my bike setup, I get hounded by social media, and then everyone freaks out saying it's not the bike, it's the rider and all this stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the bike does help a little bit, even if, especially when I'm sitting here struggling with my finances and stuff. And if I could get a little bit more help, things are a little easier. But at the end of the day, I just struggled with certain things. Mainly just kind of I think confidence in myself and my program, because I was struggling so much. I just started to lose the confidence in those confidence building scenarios. I just started to lose it instead of gain it. So it was just kind of, I think, just me in general, but just I wish I had a few more pieces of the puzzle put together. But I mean, when you're in your 20s trying to do this all on your own, you're not going to have all the pieces of the puzzle, but we did as good as we could with what we had. But I would say, I think for me, Supercross was just pressure-wise harder. Yeah. And I think the biggest part of that is obviously, they say, just the stadium alone, you walk through the tunnel and you're just it's gonna hit you. It's
a different feeling.
Yeah, and it definitely hit me. It was nice to have that transition period, but yeah, the Supercross stage was definitely a lot heavier. But it's kind of crazy because my strengths when I would go race X Games against the women were pretty much whoops and busting out the bigger sections, which ended up turning out to be my weakness when I'd race men. So it was super ironic and frustrating.
That is kind of, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
When I raced X Games, I manhandled the whoops.
Yeah, and you were fine.
But they were built backwards. There were little things that were definitely helpful. But yeah, I'd be able to go through the whoops no problem. And there was a couple 3 sections that were pretty peaky for a 2TF, and I was still able to bust them out back then. So it was just so weird going from, I'm good at this, and then you flip the script and race against the men, you're like, wow, I'm actually really bad at this.
Yeah, I'm terrible at this. That's the worst feeling in the world. For somebody like me, a regular rider, the worst feeling in the world is getting filmed. Me getting filmed, and watching the video of me riding, and I'm like, dude, I suck. I am terrible, but I compare it to other people that I film, fast pros, all this stuff, and it's damn.
Yeah, I know. It's hard, and they say, comparison steals happiness, but I don't know. I'll still do it. Yeah. I thrive off of it, because that's the only way I'm going to want to get better, is if I compare myself to the best and be like, oh no. And that's what you want, though. You want to look like the best or perform like the best, so why aren't you going to look at them?
Yeah. I get the comparison is a thief of joy. I do get that to an extent, but at some point you have to compare yourself to get to that next level.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. Yeah. If I compared myself to other women that were good, well, we wouldn't be very far. Not to knock the women's capabilities, it just wasn't there yet. And so, like, I had no choice but to look at the best of the best in the men's category. So, like, of course I'm going to want to be like them and study what they're doing.
Did you have favorite riders?
Growing up, I always had Wyndham as a favorite.
Yeah, K-Dub's badass.
But when I picked him as a favorite, I had no clue why. Like,
okay.
I was 7 years old. My dad took me to San Diego Supercross.
Was it raining? I swear it seems like every time.
I think we were before that time of just getting rained out.
Yeah.
But yeah, he took me to one and I just pointed at a rider and it ended up being him.
Dude, what bike was he riding then?
He was still on like Sobe Honda back then.
Oh, dude, that was one of the best.
Yep.
He's a great person to like be a fan of too.
Oh, for sure. But I didn't know anything back then. When you're 7, I just saw a bunch of riders and I just picked, and then I just followed him for years, and then I realized, oh yeah, that's a good pick.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I remember him doing, I think it was him doing hill clickers when he was on 125s.
Yeah.
Like way back in the day and stuff like that. Yep. And it was just like, he was always one of my favorites. So kind of going back, like in the world of racing and all that kind of stuff, was there ever a moment for you where you kind of looked at it where like you didn't, and I want to frame this the right way, is you didn't want to be like racing just against the girls? You were like, hey, I wanted to go against the guys? Or was it just, I know what the top level is and I want to get to the top level? Did you kind of not even look at it that way?
I mean, for me, like we had women's pro motocross, which was great. We were on the same day as the men for nationals.
Which I loved.
Which was really, really cool. But that fizzled as soon as I got there, pretty much. I think we had a year or two that was really good and beneficial, and then it started to fizzle out. And at that same time, I wasn't like dominating by any means. I was literally 4th place by myself, like not racing anyone. The top 3 were gone, and 5th behind were gone too. So like I was just by myself almost every weekend, and I was just like, this isn't very fun.
Yeah.
And so I started looking at other things that I did enjoy. And that's kind of when I turned into riding. I think I rode Supercross with Durham one day.
Darren?
And, and it just like it piqued my interest of how many options and how many combos you can get away with. And like if you want to wheel tap the whoops, if you want to jump them, if you want to, skim them, like the options are so endless with whatever combo you want to do through rhythms. And it piqued my interest in that way. And once I did that, I'm like, all right, I want to go race.
Okay.
And sure enough, there's no category. And the only way to get your men's professional license was arena cross. So
and earning your points or whatever, like through that.
Yeah. And at that same time, the women's pros we kind of did like a little trial run at San Diego Supercross, like on media day.
I kind of feel like I remember that.
I think that was 2008, and it didn't go well, unfortunately. A lot of women, they tried the triple. A lot of them cased. I think we got like 2 injuries that day, so it pretty much crushed that.
It was like,
team.
hey, we're done.
Yeah. And during that happening, I had already jumped the triple, and I tried a 3 in the middle of the section, and I was already like moving on. So it was. It definitely kind of solidified my perspective of like, okay, well, like if they're not there yet, that's fine. Or if they don't see that we're there yet, that's fine. Like I'll just go do it.
Okay. And so you're like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to.
Yeah. So I loaded up and I drove to Denver, Colorado for like the middle of the Arena Cross series and just lined up.
Started.
No clue what I was doing and just showed up.
Oh my God. That's pretty damn cool though, is like you just said, you know what, because a lot of people, what they do is when the door kind of closes on them, they're like, oh, and they kind of wait for another one to open up.
Right, yeah, and I mean, I get that to a sense because like once you want to push the level of the sport, you have to do it as a group for it to succeed. And apparently, we didn't have that group aspect. So it was just like, you know what, like I still love this part, and money aside, because we weren't making any money anyways. Yeah. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this and not make much money, I want to go have fun. And so I'd go race arena cross and just like pretty much just get T-boned, T-boning other riders and just like pure chaos, battle royale. And I was getting paid the same and I was just smiling on my face. Yeah. So I was like, yep, this is me.
But you found joy in it. Like you could have easily just been beating your head against the wall and hated every second of it.
Yep.
But you found something that you really enjoyed and that you were having a good time doing. Especially in moto, I don't like it when people look at our sport that I love, that you love, I know you love it, and they're like, I hate doing it, but I have to.
Yeah.
Like that bums me out so much.
Yeah, I mean, it does come with the territory. I mean, look at the top dudes. You really think they're having fun.
No.
Like, I mean, I could list off so many dudes.
AP's having fun.
Yeah.
He's not the top. AP's for sure having fun. Deegan's having fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, but other than that,
yeah, I mean, if you're doing, say, 100 laps a day, is it really going to be that fun every single day?
Yeah.
No, for sure. And it's crazy, though, because our world is pretty much fueled by fun. So it's such a different environment. And even when I think like Seeley retired and came on a trail ride with us, he was like, I've never had this much fun. And Villapoto came on a trail ride with us. He's like, this is amazing. Like, this is your guys' day.
And we get paid to do it.
Yeah, we get paid to just have fun. So, like, there is work, but our work is so fun.
Yeah, I remember like going back to like when you're starting to say those names, like Darren Durham especially was one of those riders that I loved watching ride.
Yeah.
Like Villapoto, I remember seeing him, Roxon, and like a few other people go out to the hills and like try and it's kind of funny is you see like guys like Twitch go out to the hills, jump a section, kind of make it look easy, and then you see Roxon, who I think at that point was a champion or like was close to winning.
I think he was.
And like would struggle, you know, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God, like it's kind of gnarly to see. And you've lived that whole like world. You've lived the Supercross racing world. You've lived the arena cross, which is a whole nother like bag in itself. And your freestyle, free riding, all that kind of stuff. Like you've kind of encompassed that entire thing, you know, which is not common for a lot of people, you know, in my opinion. But thinking of Darren Durham, remember that picture of him waving? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that was like my all-time.
Yeah.
Like, if I remember, like, I remember I was younger. I think I even had that like on my wall somewhere. Like, there was something about that freaking photo of him just like with the hand out, coming down the straight. And I can't remember who he was doing it to, but that was pretty cool. But so it's kind of turning the page because I could sit here and talk to you about racing for 5 hours. When did you like decide, and when was the moment for you that like doing the freestyle, doing the shows, all that kind of stuff, when did you realize that like I could do this for a job and like I could make money doing this and like you could kind of quit the racing side? Like, when did that turn for you? Was it in 2015? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, about that, I took some time obviously and like learned tricks to make it worthwhile for me to go and do shows. But even in that time, it was, like I said before, it was just like a commodity to just have a female jump 75. So it was...
Was there anybody but you that could do that?
I believe at the time, because the reason I got one of my first shows overseas was because there was a Emma McFerrin, but I believe at the time she was only jumping 65 feet. Mm-hmm. And the way their show format was, there was only room for one ramp, so they couldn't really integrate her. And at the time she had more tricks than I did. I literally only had a knack, whip, like nothing. Yeah. And they called me and I was like, I don't do tricks, right? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, no, it's fine. We just need a female jumping 75. Huh. I was like, oh, okay.
Was it scary jumping the ramp first time at 75?
Ramp to ramp, 75, terrifying. Yeah. And my first ramp to ramp show, I had to flew to Australia. I mean, I did a couple in the US, but like my first real one was when I flew to Australia and had to like build a bike the practice day to like a ramp to dirt, say, like a little compound that they had. It got rained out, so I didn't get to ride. And then went to practice day at the venue. One of the other riders cased it, broke his femur right in front of me. I think his name was guy? Yeah, Jake Holloway. I don't know if you would have heard of him. Yeah. One of the Freestyle Kings guys. Okay. But yeah, he cased it, broke his femur.
Great.
And I watched it. And I still hadn't jumped it yet. And then the ambulance came, took him away, and they're like, hey, we can't ride now. Like, the ambulance is gone. They're like, so what should we do? I'm like, well, I'm going to jump it now. Because, like, that's going to traumatize me tonight. So I'm just going to go jump it real quick. So one of the other riders, I kind of just paced and followed it, jumped it for like 5-10 minutes just to get the trauma out and not to have to second guess and sit there and think about it. Jumped it and got it out of the way. But yeah, that was like my first experience going overseas to do a freestyle demo.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
It was
that reminds me of like your mindset, like to give people a look into your mindset is when we were here and you flipped and to the airbag.
Oh, yep.
Oh my gosh. And so you flipped Well, I remember you kind of coming up to it, and I remember you saying like, all right, you jumped it a few times.
Yep.
And then I remember you come up to Seth. I think it was Seth and maybe Twitch, and you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to flip it. And then you came around and just stuck underneath. And like, I thought for sure you were really hurt. Like, I thought you were like seriously hurt. You kind of bounced up. You sat there for a second, you know, kind of whatever. And then I remember coming up to you and getting your bike up here, and the first thing you said is, I think I could do it again, but my bars are bent. Like, that's insane. Like, that's insane for anybody, let alone a girl, to do that. Like, it was like one of those things where I was like, holy shit, Vicki is nuts. Like, insane. And you came back. You went up it again.
It wasn't pretty, but we got it done.
But you landed it, and I don't even remember if you even hit it again. I don't remember. You probably did, but
no. I mean, I had a shoulder injury that year anyways. So once it re-aggravated from the crash, I'm like,
psycho.
I can't come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
There was no way my shoulder was going to allow coming back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I got to fix this now.
Seth brought the bike back to your van and changed the bars. You came out and then nailed it. And it was like one of those moments where I was like, I found so much respect for you because I saw what you did like in between that. You know what I mean? And that's what I think a lot of people don't see, and which I want people to get to know. Like, that's why I do these, right? Is those situations, all they saw was a crash.
Yeah,
and then you doing it.
Yeah.
And they don't see all the mental games that you've kind of had to put yourself through.
Yeah, the little things, like it taking an hour to swap bars, get everything set. I think the generator ran out of gas. So I had to fill that back up, let the bag blow up. And yeah, it was just not the most ideal setup for me. And even Taka's like, it was actually really hard to flip.
Oh,
I was like,
thanks,
why didn't you tell me before?
Yeah. Damn.
So yeah, it was definitely a little rushed, and it was kind of my fault for maybe trying to take a step back and check myself, but I had confidence, and I was like, I've done 1 million, I should be fine, even though I hadn't done it in like 2 or 3 weeks. So it was myself for you know, my own confidence got checked on that one.
Have you flipped since then?
Yeah.
Oh, in East. Were you out in East? Yeah. So how you split your time a little bit? Like, you kind of go spend some time out East. You go to Brody Wilson's.
Yep.
And is that where Seth's from?
Yeah, Seth's from Connecticut, and Brody Wilson's like an hour from Seth's parents' house.
I want to go to Brody's so bad.
It's amazing.
Yeah, his place looks awesome.
Yeah.
But like, how often how long have you been going out there? And like, do you do it every year, or what do you do?
So 2 years ago was our first year doing it, and we literally checked out right after Salt Lake Supercross. Went and did Salt Lake, and then drove out. So like, we were there for a solid 6 months, and then came back, and we were gonna do it last year, and then we kept having problems and trying to figure out, and then I had shows more out west this time, so it was just kind of hard to finally pull the trigger to transition out there. So we ended up not doing it, and we kind of regretted it. So we're like, no, we need to go back. And we stayed out there, and it's just so fun. Like, it gets so hot out here, and like, I've rode every track here since I was 7.
Yep.
So even if they change them, I'm still, you know, like, it's still Kiki, it's still Paris, it's still Paul, like, all these tracks are still similar to me. So when we go out East, it's like, I get to see a brand new track, and it's so fun.
Is the fan interaction different out there?
Definitely. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. It's so cool. Like, I think East Coast, it's so different. Like, even we'll go to a local motocross track, and we'll go to one more than others. We'll go to Crow, which is Robbie Marshall's track. His family owns that one. So we'll go there a bunch, and then the family's like, dude, you have no idea how many people show up once you get here. And then they just keep coming to the track to hope to see you. And I'm like, that's super cool. And like, I try, and you know, there's a lot of female riders out there that actually rip. So it's cool to just interact with different people. And a lot of those East Coast people or fans or riders, they only see us on screens. So it's cool to go out there. Even when we do like Jersey Supercross, and like, nobody gets to see Jeremy, or nobody gets to see Taka, because we're always out west, and they always see us on a screen. So it's definitely such a different and cool interaction for them to get to, you know, experience what we do. And everyone's so desensitized out here. Like, you can go see, you know, Anderson on a Tuesday at Paula if you really want to. So like, it's definitely a lot different. You know, they don't see the pros really ever.
Do you ever have like a sense of like weight on your shoulders when girls come up to you and say like you're their hero? And like, because there's 1,000% girls that ride that look at you, and it is true, But has that ever like kind of put a lot of weight on your shoulders? Like, whoa, like that's a lot to kind of process at all?
It did back like maybe like 5-10 years ago. It was definitely a lot. But now, like, I don't know, it's like it comes with the job, but it's like the best part of the job. Like, it's why we do it in the first place. Obviously we do it because it's fun, but when we can inspire and help and, you know, interact with the community, like that's the best part of it. Because like everyone always, the first thing they'll say is like, well, I'm not that fast, but I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, you can go 2 miles an hour, you can go 20, or you can go 80. Like, it's still fun.
Yeah.
So that's where it's just like, it's very cool just to interact. And some of our best friends barely know what dirt bikes are. And it's great, you know, like it can be so versatile of how, you know, interactive we are with the community. And I feel like it's so important that we do and just keep opening it up.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. That was actually a very good answer. It was like, I'm sure it was one of those things where I thought about it, but
yeah, but it's still a trip though, for sure. Like, I don't know. I'm just like I'm straight up just a dirt bike kid. I'll ride whether the camera's on or off. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. I'm having fun regardless. I want to ride and put in work regardless of who's out here or who's filming or who's doing what. Like, I just like it.
Yeah.
So people are like, why do you go and ride so much? I'm like, because I love it.
Yeah.
I'm like, the passion hasn't died, and if I was over it by now, we would have figured that out.
Yeah, you'd have been toast. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of the questions that I got, we could kind of speed run through them. The first one was, and this was actually kind of serious when it came through.
Yeah.
My brother wants to know what it felt like to get blown by him when he destroyed you. Is in his words, he destroyed you at Paula, and I keep reminding him you were standing still, or like he blew past you, and I'm like, she was sitting on the side of the track, and he goes, it doesn't matter. Ask her how it felt.
Hey, getting past. I mean, I was out there.
You were out there.
So, I mean, I wish I would have seen it to just really collect on the emotions, but, you know, sometimes you just got to take the L.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. The biggest L I took from you, I got destroyed by Roost by you. And I was like, because there's only like 2 seconds. I could hang with you for 2 corners and then you're gone. And I remember being right behind you and there was like a roller at Paula Fox Raceway. Sorry, Brian. My boy runs it. So like he'll get mad. But there was a section there and I was like right behind you and you roosted me so hard and it got everywhere that my chest protector wasn't.
Oh, that's
And
the
I was
worst.
like, son of a bitch. The worst is when you get roosted by like a kid on a 65 or an 85. That's very demoralizing.
It's degrading. Yeah.
But so how is it, that was a funny question with my brother, but there was one that came through that said like, what is it like for you at the track riding kind of like against locals, against guys? Like, do you ever like have like people that not want to let you buy and all that kind of stuff? Like, has it ever had that happen to you? All the time?
All the time. I mean, I think SoCal's like the heart of it for all that. I mean, no matter, and I'm like a nobody when it comes to speed, but
what? Wait.
These SoCal kids are fast.
You know how fast you are on a dirt bike?
I don't know. The SoCal kids are fast.
They are fast, but I've seen you ride.
Well, thank you.
You're fast.
But regardless, like, I don't know. It doesn't seem to matter. Like, if you're going fast or you have a name, like, someone's going to try and hop on.
Yeah, and tail you.
Either tail me or, like, hop on in front of me. And I'm like, man, I don't race because I don't want to get roosted.
Yeah.
Like, I go out with 3 tear-offs because that's all I need. I don't want to be behind someone and have to start pulling tear-offs and littering everywhere. Like, I just want 3. Yeah. 3 will last me 30 minutes, no problem.
Is that what you do, 30-minute moto?
Yeah, I do 30.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, I hop on my pace and I do 30 and it's like a fun cardio thing for me.
Oh, it is, for sure. Yeah.
So I just hop on and go until I think my bike's going to run out of gas and I hop
And then you hop back, pull in. So was it hard for you to kind of like get a setup that you liked? Because I would say like a lot of people would say you're a female, they're not used to having somebody go as fast as you went and stuff like that. Was it ever hard for you to like kind of find that balance in that setting that you liked and stuff? Yeah,
for sure. I had a long time actually. I just struggled with, I think, communicating of what I needed versus what females get. And that's apparently a big difference, which I didn't think so. But yeah, I think my settings, I prefer just stiff. I'm just one of those riders that I think even on the moto track, like I was going as stiff as we could go just because I think I'm probably maybe used to just a stiff setting for freestyle to where it was such a weird transition before. But yeah, I don't know. I've hopped on other riders' settings and I'm like, oh, this is sweet. And
that's what you wanted. Replicate it.
Yeah. I hop on my bike and I'm like, man, it's pretty soft. And I think just the way I ride too, I think I'm a little bit more aggressive. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just needed that stiffer setting and stiffer base.
I can see that. Okay. Do you have a favorite track that you've ridden?
Out here, or just like
anywhere.
Anywhere.
It said anywhere on the question.
Yeah.
It said anywhere.
Anywhere. I'm gonna have to go with Cheney Ranch.
Oh yeah.
That's got to be my favorite to date.
But that's like every once in a while you ride there, right?
Yeah. It's definitely not somewhere you get to go every day. So when Ed texts me, I'll be like, oh, hey, I got something I got to shoot Saturday. Do you want to come break in the track for it? And I'll be like, oh, heck yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah.
So he's hit me up for a couple ride days like that. And then there's also just some random ride days. If he hits me up, like,
you're
drop
there.
all plans, I'm going.
Yeah, because it's that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I've seen it a few times. I always get that place and Avocado Ranch mixed up.
Yeah, Avocado Ranch is fun too.
Yeah.
That one's pretty techy though. Like you don't think of how steep the hills are at Avocado, but like you almost get stuck on 450.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite like moment where you got a sponsor that like you always kind of dreamed of?
Monster for sure. Yeah, I mean that's like I feel like every athlete's dream. Like once you get into especially like, you know, action sports, that's like a huge one. I mean, like it's something you chase after. It's like a dream you have, a goal to check off. And so that's definitely a huge one for me to have.
You know what my favorite one that you have is?
I don't know, probably 805.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 805. Yeah,
most people like the 805.
Yeah, that one. I remember like you posted a photo of like beer in the fridge or something. I was like, I am so jealous. I was like, damn, man, like that. But that one was pretty cool. But like, it's got to be pretty cool to like figure out like eventually it's you're putting in all this work. And you're starting to see it. I'm starting to see it with like 23 Medias. You put in so much work and then you're finally getting like the back end of it.
Yeah.
Like it's really cool to like have that support back towards you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Monster.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have other brands that it's just cool to have, like getting just starting with Polaris and how well like they want to take care of you and, you know, bring you to these trips. And then when you're there, they spoil you rotten. So it's just cool to experience that and have other brands that are stoked to have you and vice versa. So the back end of it is cool to be able to work with all these brands and, you know, just how much they want to use you for stuff. It's just, I don't know, it's a trip. Like I walked into a dealership on the East Coast and literally the Polaris setup and then I was on it and it was like, I just signed the deal and it was already like there and done. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So it's still kind of, I don't know, it's very humbling and like mind-blowing still to this day where you're like, man, that happened fast. Or like, we just shot this and it's already there and they're already that stoked to use it. And yeah, it's a wild job we have.
Yeah, I know it is. Favorite fan interaction?
Favorite fan interaction?
It could be a group of things. It doesn't have to be one specific
I don't think
thing.
I have one specific thing, but obviously like the little kids that come up that are just either like too shy that you like kind of have to try and get a smile or a high five out of them. Yeah. And then once you do, they light up and you can see them just like, okay, now like then you can't stop them from talking once you get them started. So
you're like, oh dang, I kind of regret doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Where they're just like, you know, they're the shy kid that are trying to meet their heroes or their fans or, you know, whatever they're trying to do. And then they finally get there and they lock up.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of get them out of it. I feel like that's the cool part for me is just making that interaction special for the kids who are too shy to really do it.
Do you have a favorite memory of moto?
Oh, man. I think just growing up, we had a track called El Cajon, and I was able to go there with my dad and just go ride with him.
I love it.
Like family stuff is
perfect
key.
answer.
Oh yeah,
that was the best answer. So kind of wrapping things up because we all got stuff I got to do, which is unloading a dirt bike out of your van right now.
Yep, I got one hand, can't do it.
Yeah. So we'll get to that, and it's getting dark too.
Yeah.
What's next? Like, what's on the horizon? Like, is it just starting up the Polaris stuff? Like, getting healthy again, riding, stuff like that for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely in the middle of some projects on the East Coast, so we'll kind of just, those are on pause for the moment. So we'll pick up where I left off with that. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a bummer. I feel like I was riding really good. So
Yeah, you were.
you know, that's always the hardest part. Like when you're riding like crap and you get hurt, you're like, I knew it was gonna happen.
It was bound to happen.
Yeah, but I was riding good and I was feeling good and confidence, and then it just all came crumbling down.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just gonna build ourselves back up and, you know, enjoy the process.
Well, I hope all of it goes well. I know I'll end up seeing you in like probably like a few weeks.
For
We'll
sure.
see you randomly out at Paula or something like that. But thank you. I really do appreciate you sitting down with me.
Yeah, of course.
It was really cool. I want people to get to know a different side of riders, and that's kind of why I do things. And you know, you're one that gives a lot of motivation and inspiration to a lot of people. So
Thank you.
just don't stop. Yeah.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
I'll do it all.
But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you didn't, too bad. You watched it anyways.
Yeah,
So
we enjoyed it.
yeah,
so.
we enjoyed it. Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. The lamest thing in the world. I hate asking this. Hit that like and subscribe button. But when I ask it, I actually, when you look at the like graphics, or not graphics, the numbers, people actually do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So if you
maybe
don't
that's
say
what
that,
I'm growing on.
that's
I
what you
need
got to do.
that,
Yeah, and it's lame. It sounds so dumb, but it is true. But no, I really appreciate you guys listening. This is the first one that we're doing. I got a whole bunch planned. I got one I'll tell you that's coming up that I haven't announced yet that I'm very stoked on. But yeah, it'll be a good time. So it was good. Yeah, fun.
I
Thank
like
you.
it. Yeah. Thank you.